Welcome to the Fight Show on Sports Tonight Live. As ever, we've got a busy one. We've got plenty of good guests. We've got all the news, the talking points of the previous week, and even better, we've got Danny Flexen back from illness. You missed last week, Danny. What was wrong, Flower?
Flower, did you just say? Jesus. Yeah, I was ill. I just had a cold and a throat infection, but like Arnie, I'm back. Or particularly nasty fungal infection, maybe.
Well, Danny Flexen, of course, deputy editor of Fighting Fit magazine, and delighted as well. Resplendent in training gear, Anthony Ogogo, Olympic hopeful, of course, middleweight prospect and all-round top man, and also a bit of a celebrity in your own right as well, celebrity hijack. You can forget all your boxing medals. I mean, come on, you went on that. It's still going at the minute. You've been keeping an eye on all that big brother business.
No, well, I don't know about that, but yeah, Olympic hopeful. I'll stick with that one.
Commonwealth silver. You can go one better in London. That's the plan.
Yeah, I hope so.
We're going to get more, obviously, from you. You're going to stick with us for the hour as well. But of course, it has been a busy one with plenty of fights and talking points. Martinez, Macklin, March the 17th, penciled in. I mean, that's an enticing one. It's one that obviously Macklin's gone stateside for now. He sees, I think, with Lou DiBella, very much his future there. How would you, at this stage now, ahead of that one, see that?
Well, Macklin's in kind of fine fettle. I spoke to him last week. He's bit of a plug here. He's the next Fighting Fit cover star, which will be out in a few weeks' time, talking about his training over the years. Macklin's been with a lot of different coaches, keeps swapping around. I think he's gone back to Buddy McGirt for this one because obviously he's based out in New York, so it may not have been practical to bring Joe Gallagher over there. But he's very confident. He knows that he needs to make Martinez fight his fight. Macklin's very strong. He's a brawler, but there's a bit of technique there as well. He's a very good amateur, but he knows that he can't afford to stand off and have a chess match with this guy because he's too fast, he's too slick, and he's too good at controlling the range. So Macklin needs to deny him space in the same way he did Felix Sturm.
And it's probably around your weight, obviously. So is it a guy that you keep an eye on, all the
great.
middleweights?
It's great. I'm really happy with how all the middleweights are doing at the minute. You know, you've got Barker, Murray, Macklin. You know, Macklin showed his class against Sturm. You know, I think most people think, you know, he could have and should have won that fight. So yeah, he's obviously in good form. He's training really well. Like you said, you know, he's not just a brawler, what people think he is. You know, he's got some good skills. He's really tough. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's British boxing in the middleweight at the minute is in fantastic shape.
Other fights announced. I mean, just today, Ricky Burns against Paulas Moses. That's one that we can talk about in more detail. It's been a busy week, I suppose, again for Amir Khan and everything that's gone on with that. But a fight that has also been named is Derek Chisora, who's getting that shot against one of the Klitschko's. It's come at last because, of course, he was knocked back with the Vladimir fight to make way for David Haye. But, of course, those two did meet. They had the press conference. It was all quite entertaining, of course. And Derek, the big plan for Derek, of course, is to shake up the heavyweight division. He feels it's gone flat, it's dead. He thinks he's the man to spark a bit of life into it. And Vitali agrees.
He's right. It's boring because nobody can beat Klitschko brothers. Everybody tried to beat Klitschko brothers and boring. Nobody can do that. Derek Chisora have a chance. Let's see. I have a dream to fight David Haye, but we're miles away to make the contract because it's so difficult to talk to David Haye, to his lawyers. He thinks he's world champion. This point. I hope it's a fight coming true against David Haye. But I just hope. It's right now I can't say more about that.
You have to believe in yourself, man. If you don't believe in yourself, who do you think is going to believe in yourself? You know, I believe in myself. I believe in my ability. I believe that I want to whoop this guy's backside. You know, he's got something else coming to him, so that's why I'm excited.
All smiles ahead of the big one. February the 18th. Thoughts on that one? I mean, Chisora getting the shot against Vitali, who took Adamek apart really in the last one, didn't he? And again, like Vladimir, these two fellas just look pretty much unbeatable in that division.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say it was nice of Borat to do the voiceover for Vitali there. It was certainly an interesting way to butcher the English language. But yeah, I mean, Chisora's not much better in that score, I suppose. But Chisora's definitely earned this fight. You know, he went out there, he fought Helenius, he may not have got the decision, but in most people's eyes, he deserved to win that fight. You know, and he'll have to fight in the same way, I guess, in this one. kind of deny him space, throw shots, set a really fast pace. He'll have to come in fit, and I think if you're not going to come in fit for a world title fight, you're never going to come in fit. So he shouldn't have any need for any extra motivation. Vitali's seen it all before. Is he looking ahead to David Haye? You know, could that be Chisora's best chance that he's overlooked to an extent? He's very professional, Vitali, but he's getting older. He's had injuries in the past. There's going to come a time when he can't do it to the same level anymore. Maybe Chisora will find him on that day.
And Chisora's got a great opportunity, Anthony. I mean, the Haye thing that everyone keeps talking about, he goes in there, even with the Hellenius performance that was excellent, he goes in with no one giving him a prayer. It's got to be a nice situation in many ways for him, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, I think, like he said in the VT there, and he believes in himself, and that's all you need when you go into a fight. You know, if you've got self-confidence, if your trainers believe in you, then you know you're in great shape and you can pull something off. And you know, like Danny said, he's getting older. Vitali's getting older, and don't get me wrong, he's looked really good in his last 2 or 3 fights. But if Derek can, you know, keep his weight down, come in fit, come in sharp, come in strong, then you know, he's got as good a chance as anybody. You know, and hopefully for British boxing again, he can shake it up.
Well, British boxing is going to have a great spectacle, going to be a great few months coming up as well, because one of the fights that was named yesterday is one that we were discussing last week. It was rumoured, but Matthew Hatton against Kell Brook, and Kell Brook is seen as very much a rising star, but Matthew Hatton, who went over to Anaheim and did such a great job on Alvarez, and I think we've joined by Matthew on the line now. Are you all right, Matt?
I'm good, thanks, Dom. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks, pal. And the press conference, all smiles, all respect between the two camps, and a great little tale about how you two have helped move this one along. You were the little phone call to Kell. Give us the info, Matt.
What's that, Dom? Sorry?
The little phone call that you made to Kell over Christmas helped move this one along. Reveal yourself. Reveal the details.
Yeah, it was just...
Well, that's some tale. We'll get Matt back, but I think Matt obviously was out with some of, for Kell's stable mates anyway, a cheeky little few drinks down the line and a call to Kell. Let's get this one on, and here we are anyway, down the line that we can look forward to a cracker over in Sheffield on March the 17th, obviously the Martinez Macklin fight. But Kell Brook, again, a guy that has excited many boxing fans, of course, and he was on the Frotch undercard, did the business over there. And what do you make of his style?
I like Kell. I like the way he boxes. I like his confidence. I like the way he carries himself when he goes to the ring. Yeah, I think he's exciting. I've been lucky enough to do a bit of sparring with him as well before the World Championships where I boxed, and he's very sharp. His distance, his judgment of distance is spot on. And we sparred maybe about 6 or 7 weeks before he boxed, so you know he's not going to be at his sharpest, but I had to be on the ball for every second of the round. So because he's very sharp, he's very quick, and no, I like him. I think he's exciting, and I'm looking forward to it. I rate Matthew Hatton as well. I think he's really underrated. So it's going to be a great fight. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I think Matthew's back. You and dodgy phone calls, Matthew. What's going on?
That's it. It's this cheap phone I've got, you see.
Well, it was the dodgy phone that we were trying to allude to before the phone call that helped bring the fight on with the call over Christmas. Is this correct?
Yeah, like I say, you know, sometimes, you know, you have to forego your Christmas. So I've certainly had a good Christmas this year. I was out having a few drinks, and I was with a few of the lads from Sheffield, actually. I was with Ryan Rhodes and Curtis Woodhouse, and we was discussing the fight. So I decided to give him a little bell, and there was no, you know, a lot's being made of it, but it was just friendly banter really, and it's certainly done no harm. You know, the fight's on now, and it's one I'm looking forward to.
You've had a fight, obviously, since the Alvarez fight, which gave you, you know, I suppose a new audience, if you like. I mean, people saw what you were all about in that fight. You went over there and you went the distance with the, you know, Canelo, the sensation, and you go into this one with great confidence now, don't you, Matt? Despite all the hype around Kell Brook. Definitely,
yeah. You know, when I fought Alvarez, you know, I gave away absolutely everything, really. You know, I was travelling all that distance away. You know, a massive difference in size. You know, I was campaigning at light middleweight, a weight I'd never boxed at. And on the night of the fight, you know, Canelo was 9 pounds heavier than me. You know, sometimes you can give away weight to opponents and it doesn't really matter. But when you're giving it away to a quality fighter like him, you know, it can make a difference. And I withstood everything he dished out to me. You know, I gave him a decent fight. You know, I still believe if the fight would have taken place at welterweight, as it should have done all along, it would have been a different matter. But, you know, sometimes in defeat you can win. And I think that's been the case in that fight. You know, even though I was undefeated European champion, you know, I think after that fight, you know, I seemed to get a lot more acknowledgement and respect, really. So, like I said, sometimes in defeat you can come out a winner, and I think that's the case. And obviously going 12 rounds, you know, at light middleweight with a great fight to look at with him. You know, look at what he's done to opponents previous to our contest and what he's done to fighters afterwards. So, you know, obviously those experiences stand you in good stead and fill me full of confidence going into this fight. You know, I think it's more a level playing field, this fight. So, you know, I go into the fight, you know, not hoping to win, confident to win. I go in this fight expecting to win.
Now, Matt, obviously this fight was first mooted a few years ago when Kell was British champion. I think his promoters asked you for options that you weren't completely happy with giving up. How happy are you now that it's happened at this point when you're both around your peak?
Yeah, I'm really pleased. You know, this fight is happening at the perfect time for both of us, I believe. You know, Kell now is obviously in the limelight. You know, he's got the backing of Sky, and a lot of people saying he's the next superstar in British boxing. You know, from my point of view, I think physically, you know, this is my 50th contest coming up. I'm 30 years of age now, and I really do that. I'm feel like I'm coming into my peak now, physically and mentally. So this fight couldn't happen at a better time for me, really. You know, it's not an easy fight, but, you know, a lot of people saying Brook's the favourite going into this fight, and I can see where they're coming from. I certainly don't see it that way. And I think it will be an exciting fight, and I think the styles will clash well. It's obviously going to be a fantastic atmosphere. You know, Manchester and Sheffield is the War of the Roses as it's being billed, and you know, to me, it's two of the best welterweights out there going at it, and the fact that it's a local, you know, everyone loves a derby in sport. The fact it's a local derby, you know, adds a little bit of extra spice to it. So this is a fight I'm really excited about and really motivated for, and we're finally going to see who's number one welterweight on the 17th.
It's a defining one as well. This will be your 50th fight, Matthew, as well. You know, you've had a long career. Do you feel that, slow burning that it may have been at times, it's gone right if you look at it now? You know, obviously you've had disappointments along the way, decisions that you weren't happy with, but you look at it now, it could just all be happening for you right on the button at the age of 30, maybe when you are at your absolute peak. You know, you've changed trainers, obviously, you know, you've moved camps with Bob Shannon and everything else. Is that the feeling that you get, this is your time?
Definitely, you know, if it's not my time now, it never is going to be. And like you said, I have had a slow burning career. I've had me ups and...
And there's another down.
It's you, Dom. You keep offending him.
I'm cursing you, Matthew. But anyway, we get the gist of all that, and thank you very much indeed for your time. Matthew Magic Man Hatton, who does have that great opportunity against Kell Brook in Sheffield. As he says, it's going to be a War of the Roses and all the rest of it, and plenty of hype attached to it. But a real humdinger. And we were talking prior to Christmas about the fights we want to see. The domestic tear-ups, you know, the Mitchell-Murray kind of fight, and then we've got one to look forward to straight away.
Well, I should say there's a good fight on the undercard as well that was announced today. Lee Purdy, former British welterweight champions, fighting friend of the show, Adnan Amar. Not Adil Anwar, but Adnan Amar. But yeah, so that's going to be a cracker on the undercard as well, so it's looking like a really good bill.
The Ricky Burns-Moses fight, I mean, there was a lot of chat, certainly around Manchester anyway, that Anthony Crolla deserved a shot at that one. He's very disappointed that he didn't. That one's not happened. So what do you see of that one in terms of the progression of Burns?
I feel sorry for Burns in a way because he's kind of gaining a reputation for fighting these challengers who aren't worthy of title shots. But Paulus Moses is actually a very good fighter and a former WBA lightweight champion. He's fought and beat better people than Ricky Burns. But because no one over here has heard of him, he will not get the credit he deserves if he wins. So I feel sorry for him in that extent. He get more credit for beating Crolla, who hasn't proven himself to be anywhere near Paulus Moses' level.
Well, more of this chat, and we're going to get stuck right into the life and times of Anthony Ogogo and what's going to happen ahead of London 2012 and the qualification and everything else. So stay right with us here on The Fight Show on Sports Tonight Live. Welcome back to The Fight Show on Sports Tonight Live. We are joined with our special studio guest, Anthony Ogogo, Team GB, London 2012, all the excitement building around it. Just tell us where you're up to at the moment. I know you've had an injury. I know I think, is it 6 or 5 of your teammates are already qualified?
Five
have already qualified. What's the situation with you and what happens next?
Well, personally with me, I came to within one fight of qualifying at the World Championships. I was going into them with the injury, like you said, of back in May last year. I tore my labrum, which basically keeps your shoulder in. And basically my shoulder subluxed, so it popped out and popped back in, and in doing so, I tore the labrum and chipped a load of cartilage off and some messy business in my shoulder. And I managed to kind of like make do with it and like strengthen it up to a certain degree, but obviously being damaged. And I went to the Worlds, and with my right arm as well. Obviously, I boxed in the 3 fights. I boxed 2 southpaws, sandwiched between the Russian, who like European champion, really good. I remember watching him beat Darren O'Neill in the European final back in 2010, and I remember sitting in the stand thinking, God, if this is the standard you got to get to do anything at amateur boxing. I thought, you know, I was quite a long way off, and I managed to beat him by a single point, mind. I managed to beat him with a bad shoulder, like in the second round. I think he was getting a bit frustrated, and in the clinch he kind of pulled me, and I felt my arm come out of the socket again. And then in the qualifying fight against a Brazilian, again another tricky southpaw, I just couldn't get the backhand off. I just couldn't fire it, so I lost by a few points with one arm, but really, and like that was quite frustrating. But yeah, long story short, 7 out of the 8 boxers, so 10 boxers qualified at the World, 7 from European, and there's 8 spaces. So there's 1 space left. There's a qualifier in April in Istanbul, which is just a European qualifying tournament. And yeah, there's a few of us. There's a few big guns going for that 1 spot. So there's going to be a few disappointments come the end of April. But you know, I'm 100%. Like I said, I've got my shoulder fixed now. It's on the road to recovery. I'm 100% confident that I'm going to go there, and that 1 spot's going to belong to me, and I'm going to join the rest of the boys on in the Olympic team.
We'll get into more detail about that, but I want to see how you went about your business at a Russian training camp, and I've got a feeling that this might be your work as well. Let's have a look at you in action. Well, there we are. The life of a Team GB boxer, always on the move, training all over the place. So what's that all about?
That was, we went to Russia this time last year. That was probably the worst 2 weeks of my life, but that was really beneficial. That was, we were there in the middle of nowhere, 1,000 meters up this mountain, one of their training bases. Obviously, Russia's such a vast country. We stuck up this mountain for 2 weeks. In minus 15 degrees in the middle of the day, so at night time we went down to minus 20. And yeah, like you saw in that clip, on the running track, they had to like shovel the snow out the way so we could run, and that was horrible. But that was a really good camp. That was really beneficial. We trained with, Russia's got like a mass production of boxers, 4 or 5 teams of like top quality, and we trained with them every day, sparred with them. I've done a lot of sparring with that Russian who I eventually beat in the Worlds. So yeah, that was really good, and I just took my little camera and got some filming done, and made a little montage.
Celebrity hijack, film. So you got it all going on.
Natural star. Let me ask you, when you obviously all being well, you go to the Olympics, you really want to win that gold medal, representing your country, reach the pinnacle of your sport. Is it at all in the back of your mind thinking about professional down the road, and if I win this gold medal, it will help me get the best deal on the table, best coverage going forward?
Yeah, I think so. That is always kind of in your head, because most people, I can say honestly that when I first started boxing, that was just after Sydney, and I watched Audley Harris win a gold medal, and that just I wanted one. I wanted my own Olympic medal. So when I first like put a pair of boxing gloves on, that was to become an Olympic champion. So for me, that's my goal. You know, that's to me at my current position in life. That's more important to me than money and belts. Obviously, that's going to come. Hopefully, that will come later in life. But for me, I'm just, you know, I'm hell bent on going to Olympic Games, representing my country, and become like an Olympic star. You know, I still remember like Kelly Holmes crossing the line with her arms up. You know, that moment. I remember like Linford Christie getting disqualified in '96, and that was one of my first like sporting memories. So like, Olympics for me has been such a massive thing that that takes precedent over anything in my life at the moment. And don't get me wrong, afterwards, you know, I'd love to turn professional and, you know, forge a successful professional career for myself. And but at the minute, you know, for me, I can't talk for the rest of the boys on the squad, but for me, it's just about these Olympic Games. You know, if the world ends after, you know, at the end of August, as long as I get to those Olympic Games, that's all that matters to me. And then hopefully, you know, after then, I can set new goals, and you know, they can take precedent in my life.
Well, it is a special thing, isn't it? You know, we talk about some of the big fights coming up, Ricky Burns, Matthew Hatton, Kell Brook. None of them came anywhere near an Olympic Games. That's no disrespect to them, but it just shows it's a real once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
And it's so hard. I can't explain how tough it is. You know, like it's an amateur sport, but
that's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. It's an amateur sport, but you know, it'd be tough to find somebody more, you know, dedicated or professional-minded than me. And any of the boys on the squad really, but like me specifically, and I'm so focused, and I'm so, like I said, hell-bent on going there, representing my country, and winning one of them.
Well, you're victims of your own success in many ways, though, the boxers, aren't you? I mean, the setup at Sheffield is fantastic, overseen, of course, by Rob McCracken. But the fact that there are so many of you, and you're all vying positions. We saw the Selby, obviously, Yafai kind of box off and everything else. It seems wrong somehow. There's so many of you that are all fit for the Olympics. There's no two ways about it.
And it's like you said, you know, it's, even on the squad, there's so much competition on the squad. You know, potentially there might be boys on the squad who don't even get a chance to go to a qualifier. That's how high it is, and obviously they're top kids, and that's how high and hard elite boxing, elite sport is. It's going to be really tough. Nobody, like Andrew Selby back in 2010, he lost in the GBs to Tommy Stubbs, and then, you know, 12 months later he's #1 in the world. No doubt #1 in the world. Like, I think he should have won the gold medal at the World Championships. So boxing's funny like that, you know. It can turn around, you know, timing. People can peak at different times, and luckily for him, he's coming into his own at the right time. I've just got, you know, draw from inspiration from that. Look at him and think, you know, what he's doing now, and hopefully, you know, I'll get to that and surpass that level, you know, July, August comes.
I mean, does that sense of competition benefit you personally as well? Because obviously you've had Callum, I guess, Callum Smith pushing you over the years.
No, definitely. Definitely. That I'm really competitive. If you ask any of the boys on the squad, I have to win every run in the morning. I have to come first. So, you know, when we're doing the circuits, I have to lift the most. I'm really competitive. So for me, like you said, personally for me, I thrive off that competition. You know, I like it. And before Callum, there was Frank Buglioni, who's doing like, fantastic now as a pro. He was there pushing me, and we were quite competitive with each other. So you know, that competitive nature, nobody likes to, you know, go stale. You know, and you would do if you were the only guy on the squad at your weight, you would eventually go stale. And that's just, you know, you always work to within your means. When you got somebody there, you know, seeing them on the bag and they're throwing more punches at you, you think, oh, I need to throw more. That just brings that an extra edge of you, which you wouldn't get if they weren't there. So that competition for me, you know, I love it.
God forbid it doesn't happen, but if you weren't to qualify after everything you've put in, I mean, what happens then? I mean, we've seen it with the box off with obviously Selby getting the nod. I mean, how hard is it then to go back and think, well, what now?
Yeah, it's one of those things. You know, I know it's going to be really hard for me. Like I said, at some weights there's like 3 or 4 spots left, and my weight there's 1. Obviously there's me, there's the Russian European champion. He's still in. There's the Frenchman who's ranked high, the Turk European silver medalist, and it's going to be in Turkey as well. There's a few guys in there who will think that one spot is going to be theirs, but I'm 100%. You know, I'm 100% confident. I'm 100% focused that, you know, I beat that Russian with a bad shoulder, with one arm effectively. So if I get myself 100% fit, you know, I'm still on the recovery road now, but if I get myself 100% fit and can maintain that level of performance in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th fight, as in the first, then no one's going to beat me, you know. And that's not me being arrogant or that's just me having confidence in my ability, confidence in Robert McCracken and the rest of the coaches on the squad, and in our setup. And I strongly believe that I'm going to qualify. Because that's all I've ever wanted, since I was a kid. Like that medal, that's all I've ever wanted. So
one in the middle.
That's the one in the middle. Yeah. Stand on top of that podium.
To be honest, any of them would do, really, wouldn't they? Let's face it.
We're not getting near any of them, are we, ever? Let's be honest.
This is as near as we're getting.
World Chatting Championships comes up, we might be all right.
Well, I did have hold of James DeGale's medal when he came back.
Glad you said medal.
Yeah.
I was a bit worried.
And it's a real nice, incredible thing to even just to touch and to hold, and if you owned one, must be an amazing feeling. Just very, very briefly, what will it mean to you to compete here? I mean, you're from Lowestoft, it's not a million miles away, but to compete in London, because people like us are jealous at all the travelling you do. I know it can be a pain for you, but all the travelling, competing in all these great spots. But everybody that you talk to, Team GB, it's about London. They cannot wait because it's here.
I'm probably the biggest patriot I know. I think Great Britain's the best country in the world. I think London's the best city in the world. So to perform in front of British people and to hopefully win one of them and stand on the podium and with them, all proud of you, that to me that'd be just amazing. That'd be epic. I can't, just talking about it makes me go all tingly. So that'd just be mind blowing.
Well, we're going to talk more because we're just going to take a little break. We are going to be crossing the pond in our next little section to be finding out exactly what's going on stateside, but more with Anthony, more with Danny as well, right here on The Fight Show on Sports Tonight Live. And welcome back to The Fight Show here on Sports Tonight Live with Danny, now fit again, Flexen from the Fighting Fit magazine. That's quite hard to say, actually, rolling that all out. And Anthony Ogogo, of course, Olympic hopeful, who's got the big qualifiers coming up. But we're going to cross the pond. There's been plenty of news, as there always is, of course, in terms of Floyd, Mayweather, and dare I say it, and I'm kind of getting sick of saying it, Manny Pacquiao, and everything else that's been going on. I mean, firstly, before we get into the crux of this, Mayweather must be a big fan of his skills, Anthony.
Yeah, not so much what he's been doing outside of the ring recently, but his skills. You can't knock him. And any young boxer can look at him and just become inspired.
Well, look at this. This is what Floyd has been up to. Of course, he's had his jail term put back, really for the good of Las Vegas, it would seem, in terms of the money that he can generate for that May the 5th date. Whatever you think of that, this is now what he's been up to in terms of Twitter. So he's been calling out Manny, let's get it on, history of blah, blah, blah. It's the fight everybody wants to see, Danny, but it's getting very, very tedious.
The longer they leave it, the less marketable it becomes. Pacquiao's had a fight against Marquez recently that didn't go the way he would have intended, and that's kind of taken some of the lustre off of an eventual Mayweather fight. So if they leave it for too long, especially if Pacquiao keeps taking on good opposition, one of them eventually will either look terrible or lose or retire if they get bored of waiting. We need to get on sooner rather than later, but I just can't see it happening in May.
Well, let's see. We've got a chap now joining us from stateside, Kevin Iole from Yahoo Sports. Now, you are the expert when it comes to everything Floyd, everything Manny, and it is getting a bit tiresome. I'm sure you're feeling the same, Kevin.
It's, I've been writing and talking about this fight for over 2 years. It first started in November of 2009. I thought at Christmas of 2009 that the fight was going to be made, and now here we are in January of 2012. No fight in sight, and we're still talking about it. So I could do without it, believe me.
Yeah, Kevin, we've talked about kind of potential opponents for Mayweather if Pacquiao's off the table. It's not an easy thing. Everyone wants to fight because it makes them an instant millionaire. But who would you like to see him face?
Well, who I would like to see him face is Pacquiao, but he's going to face Canelo Alvarez. That's who it's going to be. They ruled out Robert Guerrero yesterday. Guerrero was in the running. A lot of people were shocked when his name even came out. Robert's a lightweight, has held a couple of interim lightweight title belts. A good fighter, but he's a 135er. He's never fought at 140. He was supposed to fight Marcos Maidana at 140 late last year, got hurt, had to pull out of that bout, had rotator cuff surgery, has not fought. So a lot of people were unhappy about that. Now they say Guerrero is not going to get the fight. Canelo Alvarez is going to be the guy unless Miguel Cotto miraculously comes through. But I would say the odds very, very, very heavily favor it being Canelo Alvarez.
Alvarez would certainly have a size advantage there, but is this fight all about making money? He is a sensation. He's got the Mexicans behind him. you know, Floyd is Floyd. You know, we don't really need to elaborate. Is it about the finances that can be generated because that sells that one?
Unfortunately, it's not. It's never about the competition. It's always about the money, and that's what it's about. They're looking at making the biggest possible money. And in the States, Canelo Alvarez has a very large constituency, especially in the southwest part of the United States, where there's a lot of Mexicans and Mexican-American people. Alvarez is huge with that group. I mean, very, very big. And he will bring that element to the fight, and they'll buy pay-per-views, they'll buy tickets, they'll be watching in closed circuit. They will make the fight bigger than if he fought pretty much anybody other than Pacquiao. So I think that's a reason why they're looking there. They never look at it from a competitive standpoint, unfortunately. They're not looking at who's the best fight. They're looking at who is the fight I can make with the most money, and a lot of times with the least risk.
But Kevin, even from a financial perspective, isn't this short-term thinking by Golden Boy? You know, Canelo Alvarez is 20 years old. He's a huge star already, but he's going to get bigger and bigger if he avoids defeat and he carries on looking spectacular. Isn't it a worry that Mayweather's, you know, maybe too good for him at this stage and could knock him back?
I don't think he's even going to come close to beating Mayweather. I mean, I think Mayweather will destroy him. But the reason that I've heard, and I've talked to a lot of people inside boxing, they're saying that there's some problems between Alvarez's management team and Golden Boy, and that the Golden Boy wants to accelerate it, knowing that he may leave them. So if he wants to, in fact, that is true, and he wants to leave, that's why Golden Boy is willing to sacrifice him. If they, you know, if they thought, hey, he's going to be here for the next 3, 4, 5 years, I don't think they would be so willing to sacrifice him. But I'm sure Top Rank has, you know, kind of had some tentacles in the water, and you know, they have Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. That would be a big fight. Again, in the U.S. and in Mexico, but it would be a big fight between them. Chavez Jr. is very popular among the same constituency that Alvarez is. They're right, you know, around the same age, right around the same weight. That would be a big fight. So I think, you know, that's why you see this going on. So I think Golden Boy just basically is looking to cash him in, make some money with Floyd Mayweather, and go from there. But it will be a big fight. There's no doubt. Even though I don't think it's a competitive fight, Mayweather will romp. I think it's going to be a big fight in terms of finances.
And another fight, just moving on a little bit, Amir Khan, of course, this one has rumbled on in the past week. What's your stance stateside on the man in the hat and everything else, and the Khan camp and the complaints and everything that's still rumbling on?
Amir Khan is a whiner. Shut up. We're sick of it. You know, here's the thing, guys. It was a terrific fight. I've said this before, if you turned off the television the minute that fight ended and you did not hear the decision, you might have said, hey, Khan might have won it. You might have said Peterson might have won it. But what you would have said was, I want to see both guys fight again. They were entertaining. Now Khan's going out crying like he's an 8-year-old girl about the decision. After, and I might... He talked to the U.S. media so much about, I'll go on the road, I'll fight anybody anywhere. He made a big deal about fighting in the States, and I'll fight Peterson in his hometown. And now all of a sudden he's crying about fighting in the hometown. The man in the hat, Mustafa Amin, had nothing to do with the scoring, had nothing to do with the decision. And Amir Khan is just making himself look bad. It's like he's a good fighter. He's not the best fighter in the world, but he's a very good, entertaining fighter. People in the U.S. like watching him fight. I think people all around the world would like to see him fight. But I think he's turning a lot of fans off with his attitude. And I mean, somebody's got to give him advice. Quit the crying. Look to get a good fight and redeem yourself in the ring. That's where you're going to get it, not by making protests and complaining about mysterious figures outside the ring.
Kevin, with Khan's complaints, obviously following hot on the heels, no pun intended, of David Haye's toe injury, do you think we're lucky in a sense in Britain we've got a guy like Carl Froch who took defeat to Andre Ward so honourably and with great integrity?
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, you got to give Carl Froch a lot of credit. I mean, you know, he was outgunned in the fight, and you know what? He accepted it. He fought hard, round 1 to round 12. You know, he wasn't as good as Andre Ward, but you know what? He understood. You know, I don't have as much of a problem with David Haye. I didn't like the fact that he talked so much trash and then didn't come close to backing it up. But you know what? I look at David Haye as a really talented guy, and he's one of the few guys that I think would have even a remote chance of beating Vitali Klitschko. I'm not saying he would, but I think David Haye fight loads better than he fought. But you know, this stuff about whining about making excuses. You know what? You're in the fight game. And hey, if I thought there was corruption, I'd be screaming bloody murder, but there wasn't. And I watched the fight as an independent person. I did not care if Khan won or Peterson won. I didn't care. I thought Khan pulled it out by points, but the 2-point deduction I thought gave Peterson the win. But it doesn't matter. It was just a good fight that could have gone either way. David Haye, with his complaining, it's like, I think you bring yourself down by doing that. Carl Froch, to me, shows how to handle that. And I think people want to see Carl Froch fight again. And I think, Carl Froch in the long run is going to come out the best because of this.
Well, Kevin, we could talk about a million things. Just before you go, it's a fine array of books now behind you. I do like talking to you because it's just a great shelf of some great literature. I'm trying to make out certain. Any that you've written there behind you, pick out a favourite for us.
I've got zero books, but I got a lot of Muhammad Ali books back there. so I like Muhammad Ali. He's turning 70 next week, I'll probably pull something out on him.
Just a very quick one. We have Anthony Ogogo with us in the studio. He's one of the Olympic hopefuls at middleweight for Team GB. Now, London 2012, everyone getting very excited. Just very briefly, I mean, US team, lots of excitement. London 2012, how would you sum it all up from your point of view?
Unfortunately, in the U.S., boxing and the Olympics are not very big anymore. When I was young, it was huge. The Olympics in the U.S., boxing in the Olympics was a massive, massive sport. And it's not so much right now. Freddie Roach is trying to coach the Olympians and try to make it into, bring it back to where it was. But I think the problem Americans have with it is that the scoring system is almost incomprehensible, and they've given up on it. So, I unfortunately, I still love Olympic boxing, but I don't think a lot of my compatriots here in the U.S. do.
Oh, well, the professional game certainly. But actually, just a very final one. Okay, we don't want to keep you all day, but Martinez Macklin is something we touched upon earlier. Has that caught the attention stateside?
It hasn't yet, but I think it will. I think they're going to put together a good fight. And, Sergio Martinez, I think, is clearly the favorite in the fight. But I think people saw Macklin fight Sturm, and they like him. And I think he's an entertaining fighter. And they know Sergio Martinez is an entertaining fighter. So it's going to be a good fight. So I think that as time comes, and they get an opponent for Andy Lee, and they don't have some yet. Andy's going to fight on the undercard there. I think that'll make it a good event, and I think that in the States here, it'll pick up. Sergio Martinez kind of settled an issue he had with HBO. I think that was a smart thing because it'll get wider distribution now in the States. Had he kept where he said, I'll never fight on HBO again, then they might have had some issues. I think it's going to be an entertaining fight. I think people are going to be into it. There's going to be a lot of talk when it comes up.
Kevin, thank you very much indeed for your time. Just turn Bill Clinton around. He's put me off now. He's just peering down just above your head there.
Mr. President!
Well, thank you very much indeed, Kevin Iole, who's the chief sports writer, I think, for Yahoo Sports over there. Certainly the man that we need to talk to about boxing stateside, knows it all. We're going to talk more with Anthony Ogogo after the break. We're going to be hearing from Special K Brook as well. This is The Fight Show on Sports Tonight Live. You're back with The Fight Show on Sports Tonight Live. Danny Flexen, still here, still enjoying yourself, Dan, still feeling fighting fit after your
no
recent
relapse.
illness. No. And Anthony Ogogo, of course. Anthony, of course, it's going to be a big few months for you. What's just interesting in terms of training regimes with the way that certain boxers do certain things, and Danny obviously is an expert from Fighting Fit and all of that in terms of how you go about your business. But day to day, or give us a kind of rough week, an example of your training.
Briefly, we do. Part of the GB Olympic team, Olympic squad. We run in the morning, 7:30. Well, varies run. We do different runs. I try to target different energy systems each day. 10:30 we do strength and conditioning for about 45 minutes, and then upstairs in the gym doing probably do 3 rounds, but we do technique shadow. So we'll maybe watch a quick clip of a previous opponent, and then we go in the ring and we combat him. Then in the afternoon we do our main boxing session with the coaches. We sparring, bags, pads, and then the extras you want to do afterwards. I've just now taken up Pilates and yoga, so I'm always doing some stretches in the far corner, and but it's intense and it's hard. 5, occasionally 6 days a week, and I love it.
A man who trains hard is going to join us. A man who you were talking about before, of course, who sparred. We spoke to Matthew Hatton earlier. It's only right that we speak to Kell Special K Brook after the announcement of that fight in Sheffield, March the 17th. Good evening, sir. How are you, Kell?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Very well. So this fight, it was an easy one to make in the end. Matthew spoke very positive, very respectful of you. Obviously a night he's looking forward to. Your thoughts on it now everything's done and dusted?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this fight. It's like number one beat number two. I think any doubt out there which one is which. We're going to find out on March 17th.
Kell, obviously,
Yeah.
I was saying to Matthew earlier, this fight's been talked about for a long time. It's finally come to fruition. Are you happy that you didn't fight him when you were British champion, that it's actually happening now when he's coming off such a big, performance in America?
Yeah, I think, we're both, I think, he's built it into a better fight. He's gone and boxed Alvarez up at that middleweight. He's had some great wins lately, and I've been doing well. And I think, this is the time now. It's going to go into a big, massive fight, and we're going to sell it out on March 17th, and let us fit to the talking on the night. Field number one.
Kell, how important is it, do you feel, that we can all look forward to now a great domestic fight? Because, of course, last year we saw so many of our top fighters go up stateside and, all right, things didn't quite work out in some ways, but, people are still talking about the domestic tear-ups, the likes of Walsh Appleby, the likes of Murray Mitchell, and again, we'll be looking forward to something like that. How big do you think that is for the sport?
I think it's very good. We're both British fighters, and it's the biggest domestic fight out there welterweight, and we're coming together. I think it's good for the British fans that we're not avoiding each other. We've come to make this fight, and it's on. It's great fireworks, me and Matthew will meet. So I'm glad for the fans we could make this fight happen.
Kell, obviously you've got home advantage in Sheffield. I think it's 13,500 capacity venue. Are you going to sell it out? Are you going to fill that place to its rafters?
That's the plan. That's the plan. We're both going to try and do our best at selling it out. I've boxed twice in Sheffield and packed it. We're going to sell out on both occasions, and I want to pack this Sheffield arena out. It's one of my dreams come true. Obviously, Naz and Johnny and Elton and Ryan Rose have all boxed there on the full Monte. And I've always dreamt about boxing there, and it'd be unbelievable to pack it out with number one being number two fight with me and Matthew Hatton.
Kell, obviously your reputation's getting bigger and bigger, and there's talk about you boxing for a world title. Could you potentially overlook Matthew Hatton, or is he, firmly in your sights?
No, I'm training hard for him. I know that he's going to be wearing his heart on his sleeve. He's going to come to fight. There's nowhere else for us, for both of us to go, really. Whoever wins this fight goes on to a world title. So, there'll be no slip-ups on my part. I'm training like a demon, and looking to put a tremendous performance on tonight.
Kell, I don't know if you recognise the last voice who asked you a question, but that was Anthony Ogogo, Olympic hopeful for 2012 London.
He's my top sparring planner for this fight. We've done some sparring in past.
What can you tell us about this man? Obviously, he's taking Britain's hopes on his broad shoulders in the summer. What can you tell us about him?
Gogo.
Yeah.
Be nice.
Very talented fighter. We have some top spars, and he's doing the country proud. Very good fighter.
Sorry, Anthony, you fire up.
No, I was just saying, thanks, Kell. Looking forward to doing some more with you, helping you out for this fight if I can.
Yeah, brilliant. I'll be down in next few weeks, and we'll have some more in AIS.
What about me, Kell? Do you want me as another sparring partner?
You could be my second sparring.
Yeah, I'll do about 30 seconds with you before you knock me out, probably. But it's something, isn't it?
Oh, we can get you in first.
Listen, Kell, before you go, what would be your kind of 2012 wishes? I know the new year, kind of the sheen's gone off it now. We're well into the new year, but obviously you've got a great fight with Matthew to look forward to. What would be the other domestic matchups that you'd like to see, the big fights of the year ahead that you'd like to look forward to?
What in my
Yeah, not necessarily.
in my
Not, just that it's fights you can watch, you can enjoy, not necessarily in your division.
I love the Mitchell Murray fight. Them who people say who should be number one and who should be number two. The fights that that we all want to see. The people want entertain. The fighters what are very entertaining, fighting each other instead of avoiding fighters. Getting in there and for the fans and really having it out. Always the best out there in the weight.
So, Kell, with that in mind, let me hit you with a few quick-fire domestic matches, and you tell us who you think could win, yeah?
I'll try.
All right, so Mitchell Burns?
Sorry?
Mitchell Burns?
Mitchell, I'd have to lean towards Mitchell.
Okay, Barker Macklin?
Very hard. Very hard, them ones.
Come
That's what
on.
I mean. You've got to get them in together, But they're both good friends of mine,
Get off the fence.
If you went into fight, who knows it's one of them fights.
All right, got a last one then, but you've got to pick this time. Chisora Fury.
Chisora Fury, well, they're boxed at the end. We saw the winner.
So same in a rematch then?
Rematch. I'd like to see a rematch because it looked out of shape to me, Chisora, and I'd like to see him in shape and see what would happen at rematch.
Right. Very final point, Kell. Thank you very much for your time. But we are just about to discuss our dream fight. Every week we're going to look at a dream fight, and this week it's a fella you've already mentioned. We're looking at Manny Pacquiao and Prince Naseem. If they were, obviously it's not going to happen. It's a dream fight. That's why we call it that. But who would you put your money on in that?
What, both of the best?
Say featherweight. Both fighting at featherweight.
Yeah, you know that Naz has been my hero, the young kid, and look how entertaining they were. Him in his best, I think that he could probably knock Pacquiao out because Pacquiao's been knocked out before, and if anyone could do it again, it probably would have been Naz back in the day.
Well, thank you very much for that, Kell. Listen, we appreciate your time. Best of luck with training and everything, and go easy on Anthony here. He's got a big couple of months ahead. All the best, Kell Brook. Of course, that fight that's been announced now for March the 17th with Magic Matthew Hatton. There's a couple of fights coming up this weekend, of course, and I think we're going to predictions from Danny. Now let's.
Come on.
I know they've been very excited in the office back there presenting.
Oh, look at this! Extreme close-ups, like Wayne's World, isn't it? Jesus, the Flexinators predictions. Which genius came up with that?
What we're looking at this week, of course, is Leon Williams, Shane McPhilbin. It should have been Tony Conquest, who was with us a few weeks ago, but illness rules him out. So, the York Call, that one, cruiserweight, British title. What do you think?
Let me just say, first of all, Shane McPhilbin's got the best nickname of any British boxer going, Mr. Block, apparently because he had a massive head since he was a child. Great nickname. Not flattering, but great.
I'll mark this one down then.
What, Mr. Block, big
Mr.
head? Block. Okay, but in terms of a prediction, it's very hard to call. Leon Williams, a British champion who's eminently beatable, but McPhilbin's come in at short notice, got nothing to lose, but he has lost a couple of times previously. I'd edge towards Williams, but not with any great confidence.
Right, and also we have Sexton and Olabamiwo.
Can't see past Sexton in this one. I spoke to him earlier this week. He's very confident. He's been out the ring a long time. He wants to, make a statement after his second loss to Derek Chisora. Outside of Chisora, it's hard to see many fighters in the country beating him. Olabamiwo was exposed to an extent with McDermott knocking him out in the last fight, so you've got to go with Sexton for that one.
Right, and this now, thank you for your prediction, Danny. We'll bring these back next week, but we're going to go straight to our boxing sound-off. This is where our boxing fans and writers have a chance to just vent their spleen a little bit, get it off their chest. I have no idea what we're actually going to talk about. This is Martin Potter, of course, who is from the Boxing Brain podcast. Martin, your time will begin on my horn, so to speak, and it will end when you hear it again. So,
hello, thanks for having me on the show. I'm going to talk about the British heavyweight scene, which sort of leads on nicely from the Sexton Olabamiwo discussion. The reason I want to talk about that is because I think it's a really exciting division at the minute in British boxing, and there's a lot of debate about who exactly is the #1 fighter in the country. If you take David Haye out of the equation, then there's three names really that keep popping up, which is obviously Derek Del Boy Chisora, Tyson Fury and David Price. If we look at Derek Chisora first, Derek Chisora, he's a massive character in British boxing at the minute. He's always great for a quote. I think he said before he fought Helenius for the European title, I think he told Helenius that he wanted to make love to him or something like that, which I thought was a great quote. He lost that fight, of course, to a bad decision. I think we all know really that he won that fight. And he previously fought Tyson Fury, another fighter I'm going to talk about a little bit if I have the time.
Well, you're going to have to hurry up,
pal. I mean, Fury, when he lost to Fury, he's a bit out of shape. And something that we often say on our show, the Boxing Clever podcast, is that Chisora is a lot like Danny Williams in that he's a massive talent, but sometimes maybe lacks a bit of dedication and seems partial perhaps to a Mr. Kipling cake. Having said that, he is a great talent. Moving on to Tyson Fury, he's another huge character. He's another immensely quotable fighter, and he is unbeaten. He's beaten Derek Chisora in the past. And I would say out of the three fighters who are often mentioned as being the best in Britain at the minute, he's probably achieved the most so far as a professional.
Thank you for your time. You got that point in there. So, who was it again?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin Potter, Boxing Brain Podcast. So, getting that off his chest. So,
I like the way you asked him to hurry up and he slowed down.
Well, he's gone. Right. Now we're going to move on to the dream fight that we obviously put at Kell's feet as well in terms of the Pacquiao-Hamed. Anthony, I mean, you look at Pacquiao now, of course he is apart from Mayweather, he's the man, isn't he?
Yeah.
Pound for pound. Prince Naseem, when he came on the scene, it was an incredible impact. His style, everything about him, I mean, he was just pure box office. And I think he did lead the way for the next generation, the Ricky Hattons of this world, if you like, that came just after him.
Yeah.
He was a trailblazer in terms of, helping stateside, certainly, and just everything about him. So you put that fight on the line, and what do you reckon?
I think it's a tough one. I think, obviously, Naseem's unorthodox style, I'd like to think his unorthodox style would cause Pacquiao, too many problems, and he just kind of come bulldozing in, and obviously, he could hit as well, Naseem could hit, and at featherweight, At featherweight, yeah. I'd be leaning towards Naseem because he was a proper featherweight. He could hit hard. He was big and
strong legs. Yeah.
Yeah. Pacquiao, he's been good since he's been a welterweight.
Yeah, Naseem would completely hammer him. I think I was a huge Naseem Hamed fan growing up. He was unorthodox. He had incredible power generated from his thick legs that he had. Pacquiao. That's for me as well, is it? Right.
Hamed.
We're
going for Hamed. I think I would agree with you. We have run out of time. Apologies.
What gave it away?
My rude horn blowing. Thank you very much indeed for your company. Danny Flexen, of course, Deputy Editor of Fighting Fit Magazine. Great to have you back as well, Dan.
Great to be
Hardy
back.
to my laurel. It's the other way round.
Other way round. Another fight match you got me into.
All the very best with the next few weeks and qualification. I'm sure you're going to do it, and obviously the big one in London.
Thank you.
You'll have to come back anyway.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. We'll have all the news, of course, next week from a busy week and all the results, the Flexinator predictions from the weekend that we're about to enjoy. This is The Fight Show on Sports Tonight Live.